Hi, my name is Nasir.
My name's Rohin.
My name's Faye.
I'm Kenji.
It is what it is.
I'm going to try and get all of the big medical YouTubers into one video. You've heard of the 6 degrees of separation, right? Where you know someone who knows someone who knows someone who knows someone who knows someone who's the Queen. Or Harold Shipman. I think in the medical sphere, this is much smaller because medics know medics. I think it's probably not 6 people, but maybe 2 or 3. And also, I think that medics are much likely to speak to other medics even if they don't know them. So I thought I'm going to test these 2 theories and set myself a challenge of trying to get in contact with all of the big medical YouTubers and get them into one video. The ultimate medical YouTuber video. I'm talking Ali Abdaal, Kharma Medic, Nuur Ali, Rowan Francis from MedLife Crisis, Dr. Hope's Sick Notes, Faye Bate, That Medic, Kenji Tomita. I set a challenge to see how many that I could hunt down. I may be able to speak to some, I may be able to speak to none at all. Either way, I'm gonna try. I have a friend who is the king of hunting people down. He's a YouTuber and his name is Max Bosch. He's found a winner of Takeshi's Castle. He's found the Frosty's Kid. Honestly, he is like a PI of the YouTubing world. So I sent him a message to tell him about the challenge that I'd set myself. He said emails are your best bet because everyone thinks they're full of brand deals and so they'll always check them. I'm not kidding, within about 4 minutes of sending emails, I had a reply that read, "Hey Kiran, you caught me while I was doing emails. Are you free right now? Nasir Kharma." You might think, what a coincidence that I've sent an email at a time when he's doing emails, but actually I'd seen him post on Instagram that morning to say that he'd got all of his emails down to 0. So I thought if I could send him an email and I would be that one unread email, I would surely get a reply. I said I can be free in 30 minutes. He said, sounds good. And then we jumped on a call.
Hi, my name is Nasir. I'm currently a 4th year medical student studying at King's College London. And I spend a decent amount of my free time making these YouTube videos under the channel name Kharma Medic. And yeah, it's something that brings me a lot of happiness, motivation, satisfaction. I guess similar to you, why you make YouTube videos as well. And yeah, nice to meet you and nice to meet everyone else as well.
I've just had a knock on the door.
Yeah, that's fine. Take your time, take your time.
It was just some guy coming to fix a sink, basically. If you could go back to the start of medical school, what would you have done differently, or what would you have said to someone starting medical school now?
Before I started medical school, sort of what I had heard from other people and from doctors, family members, etc., is that medical school is going to be this extremely difficult, very challenging process or time in my life. I'm not going to have time for anything else. It's going to be all studying, all learning. And that kind of scared me a little bit. It didn't put me off from doing medicine, but it definitely had me a bit scared. And I think what I found when I came to medical school was, although that is true to some extent, there's also so much fun to be had, and there's so many great experiences that you're going to have, friends that you're going to meet, and things that you're going to do that aren't necessarily studying or locking yourself in your room or being in the library or whatever. So yeah, just being open to those experiences, taking advantage of them and seeking them out as well.
Times are changing as well, from like this paternalistic medicine where people were in hospital for like 24 hours to like people actually wanting to have lives and things like that as well.
Lives, yeah. Like medicine is something I enjoy so much, and I definitely want it to be a big part of my life, but it's exactly that I want it to be part of my life, not my entire life from the moment I wake up till the moment I go to sleep. And yeah, I think that's...
If you were to give one piece of advice to people just starting out, what would you say?
It's really great that people are starting these YouTube channels or Instagram pages, podcast outlets, whatever it is. Honestly, what I found was really important in my growth over time was consistency. I think having an audience that expects you to be present at a certain time or day, or knows that you're going to be posting at a certain time or day, definitely gives them something to look forward to and something that they know is going to be there. And I think that that is a big motivation for someone to subscribe or to follow your journey or become invested in you as a person, that they know they're going to learn about you in the future as well, not just from this one piece of content that they're looking at right now. So whatever you can do with your schedule, whether that's once a week, twice a week, once every 2 weeks, whatever it is, just have some sort of consistency to the content that you put out.
It was great to speak to you, man. Thanks for taking the time.
As well, Kiran, lovely to meet you.
I'm not going to play the whole conversation because I've got a lot of people to speak to. And also he said some really interesting stuff that I do want to show that I will put in another video. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss when these other videos come out. You might notice that I was asking quite specific questions. The other thing I said is I was going to ask everyone the same 3 questions. I asked, what is your favorite disease? What would you have told your pre-medical school self about doing medicine? And any advice they might have for any new medical YouTubers. The next day, I received an email from Rohan Francis, aka MedLife Crisis. His email began with, "I know who you are, lol."
Wait a minute! Who are you?
He said he was on nights, but still happy to chat, so we arranged a time for the next day.
My name's Rohan. I'm a cardiologist. Actually, let me start again. I'll say, my name's Rohan. I'm a hair and beauty and makeup vlogger. And in my spare time, I've got a bit of a side interest in interventional cardiology. And I've got a little YouTube channel on the side as well.
Because we know that you're obviously a medical influencer, big into that sort of thing. So what is your favorite disease or condition? If you're going to pick just one, what would it be and why?
Well, you know, heart disease keeps me in work, but I'd say that the ones with the best names are probably my favorite. So it would be narrowed down to Ondine's Curse, a Jumping Frenchman of Maine, or Exploding Head Syndrome.
The other one I used to like in cardiology was Broken Heart Syndrome.
I strongly object to anybody using that name.
Okay.
Because the original name, Takotsubo cardiomyopathy, is way better.
Yeah.
Because that means octopus pot in Japanese. Because the way that the heart pumps when you get Takotsubo looks like an octopus trap in traditional Japanese fishing. So that name's way better.
That's such an interesting and niche piece of knowledge. So I'm glad that you've shared that.
It's very easy to get funneled into a certain way of doing things in British medical training. And you don't have to fit a round peg into a square hole. You know, don't be afraid to kind of do your own thing. Even if you're going into quite a competitive specialty, you can still, you know, be an individual and don't feel like you have to tick all the boxes. I did a video where I tried to round up a lot of YouTube medics maybe a year and a half ago, and it feels like there's been, you know, at least quadruple the amount now. So I guess the advice I'd give is, it is getting a bit crowded. So what do you bring that's a bit different? You know, I think if you're going to just make exactly the same content as other people, you're probably not going to you know, it's just going to be down to luck whether you grow. And it's always down to luck. There's a huge element of luck in all of this stuff.
Nuur Ali was someone who was extremely difficult to get a hold of. I emailed twice and didn't get a reply. I DM'd, I commented on some posts in a plea to try and get to speak to him. And then I thought, well, why don't I go on Facebook and see if we have mutual friends, and I'm sure they might be able to help me contact him. So I went on Facebook and I saw that we had a mutual friend, a guy called Cal, who was a medical student in Royal Stoke when I used to work there as a locum doctor, and me and Cal were quite good friends. So I said to Cal, can you send him a text message and see if he would be willing to speak, because they did an undergraduate degree together. And lo and behold, he didn't reply, so I didn't get to speak to him. But it's a sore spot, so let's move on. I feel like once I'd spoken to a few people and had a couple of people on board, it was much easier to get others involved. Like a stack of medical dominoes, they started to fall, and the next person I spoke to was Faye Bate. She's someone whose channel I only actually came across this year, but she's got a completely different style to anyone else. It's super chilled, laid back and personal. She said, "Hey Kiran, thanks for getting in touch. I'm actually already subscribed to your channel. Luckily she was studying at home, so I had plenty of time, so we agreed to chat."
My name's Faye and I'm in my 3rd year of medical school and I make YouTube videos.
Whereabouts are you at med school, Faye?
I'm at Anglia Ruskin, so
Okay.
it's one of the 5 new ones that they've created in the last like 5 years, I think. I would say to myself, don't spend all your time learning about the really obscure things, and every single little detail is a lot. I look back at some of the flashcards that I made in first year, and I've gone into so much detail about these things that I know now, like I will never, ever, ever get examined on, / will very rarely even be like implemented into life, like working as a doctor.
Your channel's grown really quickly, and now you've got quite a substantial following on both Instagram and YouTube. If you were giving one piece of advice for new medics starting out, what would you say?
Also remember that everyone has like their own experience, everyone has something unique to the table, and you might have to do a little bit of the same stuff as everyone else before you work out what it is that you do bring to the table. But then when you find that, like, do that, because I think no one medical student is the same, no one doctor is the same, no one has the same interests, no one has the same backstory or struggles that they've been through, or like way of even studying or dealing with stuff. Always try and like develop. Like I haven't done it much recently, but I remember when I was making my first few videos, every morning when I was eating my breakfast, if I was eating alone, I'd put on like a video on YouTube about like a different way to like make my editing better, or to make some of my videos a little bit more interesting, because there's so much information on YouTube. Always try and like develop and, you know, work on making each video a little bit better than the last, I think. Sometimes I get comments on my video, it's like, you clearly weren't studying enough, and it's like, well, that is an outdated idea, that we can't all enjoy ourselves as well, and like I can back myself up on that. I am actually vlogging. Would you mind waving and saying hello to the camera, or do you not want to be?
No, of course, yeah, more than happy to. Oh, I've got the same camera. You've got a G7X.
Yeah. If you just smile and wave. Oh, cute.
That medic. Mohammed is probably the most similar to me. We're similar ages, he's at a similar sort of grade of medical training, although he's doing surgery, I'm doing GP, and he's into the same sort of stuff, which is basically adventure and travel. I of course name dropped all of the people that I'd spoken to already, and he was on board. Like Rohin, he was on night, so it was difficult to find a time, I think partly also due to the fact he spends so much time conditioning and curling his perfect hair, but eventually after a bit of back and forth, we had a chat.
I've been in acute medicine for 6 months, and then all the GP trainees just rotated. So now I'm actually in orthopedics.
Enjoying life? We're still like not operating. We're just doing on-calls at the moment. So it's a bit long, but it is what it is. Hello everyone, my name is Mohammed. I'm a core surgical trainee working in London, and I'm a part-time wannabe YouTuber. So I spend part of my life uploading memories and some information online.
What is your favourite disease?
Favorite disease?
Favourite disease?
Oh gosh, this is a tough one, because you want something benign, so it doesn't cause too much trouble for the patient. You want something that's easily curable as well, don't you? You know, being on ear, nose and throat, I think it'll have to be benign paroxysmal positional vertigo, which is essentially where the crystals in your ear are misplaced, and they cause you excruciating, horrible vertigo where the room is spinning and patients are basically incapacitated. It's benign, it doesn't have any sort of long-term implications, and it's the most satisfying thing to fix, because you have this patient that is completely, you know, bedbound, they can't move. Every time they move, they go on a spin, and then you, with the magic of your hands and knowledge of your brain, are able to reposition those crystals and render them back to normal. So that's got to be my favorite, I think.
Honestly, you know what? Magic is exactly the word that I would have used as well. Is that you're talking about repositioning some crystals and fixing a patient? Like that is literally magic.
I made it up. It doesn't exist. I've just said these crystals.
And also, how many times must they have tested different maneuvers to find out that this was the way?
It's like baking though, isn't it? Like, who was it that decided eggs and milk and flour and then put it in it like under a heat source would make something so incredible? It's just one of those things, isn't it?
Someone must have got it wrong for a very long time.
And now with so many people online, I think a lot of people have been reassured that this is okay, and it is okay, and you can do pretty much anything you'd like, but just pay attention to those core principles about patient confidentiality, and those other main principles that you can't, you know, there's no grey line. I've seen a few videos where that's been borderline. So I think that's important that, you adhere to that, especially as a medical student where you might not exactly be familiar with that line. You don't want to be affecting patient care. So I would never vlog when I'm actually seeing patients, even if that's what it seems like. Very commonly, I will record retrospectively after I've taken the call from the patient, after I've seen them. Then I would say, I'm on my way to see a patient. When the lockdown's over, whenever you're in London, hit me up, bro. We need to meet up.
Absolutely, man. That'd be cool.
Yeah, just send me a copy. Make sure I haven't said anything. If I've said anything GMCable, bro, cut it out.
Kenji, I'd actually spoken to before, so I think it was kind of cheating a little bit. We've had a bit of a chat over Instagram in the past about some of the things that he's been working on. And so once I told him about who I'd spoken to, he was more than happy to speak. I also asked him a really, really important question, which has been playing on my mind. Why is every medical student or doctor that went to King's a YouTuber?
Yeah.
Why?
This is something people ask me all the time. Why is it? I don't know, man. I don't know. I think it's just something about King's and it makes us that way. Maybe it's actually because in King's, compared to like if you go to Cambridge or Oxford or whatever other university, actually compared to Birmingham as well, in King's all of our lectures are recorded. So it gives us so much flexibility with our time. I'm Kenji, so I'm a fourth year medical student right now at King's College London. Before this, I did a biomedical science degree at the University of Birmingham. I did that for 3 years and then graduated, decided to come into medicine and like not pursue a career down research. The last couple of years I've been in medicine in medical school, and then I started a YouTube channel, I'd say probably like first year of medical school. And then that kind of started off as, as videos to do with getting to medical school as a graduate. And now it's more just day-to-day life as a medical student and still trying to be true to my roots with biomedical science and making videos about that. As medical students and as medics in general, we have this thing where we're used to like working really hard and seeing the results. So maybe you're in high school, maybe you're in your college or your last degree, you work super hard, came top of your class and you saw the results, which is getting into medical school, right? And, scoring high grades. But then you enter this new field, which is YouTube. And, you start working equally as hard as you would for, let's say, your exams. You work super, super hard, but then the results are not the same that you'd normally, expect, as a medical student, as this high achiever sort of person. And that can be quite difficult sometimes. I think, if you attach the outcome of your work to your emotions, and, it can be quite easy to get upset by it or to get, obsessed with the numbers. And I think it's just becoming okay. And it sounds a bit negative, but I promise it's not. Be okay with just, working hard, not necessarily seeing the improvements every single day, but one day it will like happen and it'll all come together and you'll be really proud that you didn't give up when you were in your, first year starting off.
Ed Hope is someone I really respect as a YouTuber because he does something that is completely different and he's carved a path in the medical community that people are now following. He was one of the original people that was doing these YouTube reactions to medical things. So he would watch something and then give his opinion as a doctor. He is also an incredibly nice person. When I first started my YouTube channel, I DM'd him to say, I'm a doctor starting a YouTube channel. I don't really know where to start. And he actually sent me his number. Bear in mind, I didn't know him. I'd never met him before. So huge respect to him. I did tell him about this video that I was doing, but he's got a lot going on at the moment in the hospital. Now, if you're watching this to the end, you're probably thinking, what about Ali Abdaal, the golden goose, the epitome of the medical YouTuber? Well, I know that he gets a lot of emails. I've also seen him in a podcast with Ed Hope talk about how he doesn't reply to Instagram DMs anymore because he gets so many and he just is overwhelmed with them. So I thought the only way I'm going to be able to get in is by knowing someone who knows him. So I went into Facebook and I saw that we had a mutual friend called Marcus. And Marcus is a guy who I did my foundation training with as a doctor. He also happened to go to Cambridge University and happened to be in the same place where Ali was at the time. So I sent Marcus a message and said, can you put me in touch with him? They were good enough friends for Ali to say yes. So I got sent his number, we had a phone call and then agreed to speak on FaceTime. As you can imagine, even after that initial conversation, it was incredibly hard to get a hold of him because he's just doing so many things. Then one day randomly, he said, I've got 8 minutes free if now is okay. And I thought, well, if I miss him now, we're never going to speak. So I had a really quick but interesting 8-minute chat with Ali Abdaal over FaceTime.
Oh, how are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. How are you? Excuse the makeshift camera setup.
Oh, loving it. Is that a GoPro in your hand?
There's a lot of new medical YouTubers around at the moment, and I know you've got the Part-Time YouTuber Academy, and a lot of the people that follow you are medics as well. If you could, I know you give lots of advice on the course, but if you could give only one piece of advice for new YouTubers, what would it be?
It's probably a good time to let you know that every one person that subscribes to my channel from this video saves the life of it doesn't save anything, but please do remember that this video took me months to make, so show it some love, hit the like button and the subscribe button. Let's get back to it.
Focus on quantity rather than quality.
Okay, so focus on quantity at the beginning, and when do you think that shift needs to happen?
I don't think it does. I was watching a Gary Vee video just yesterday, and he was saying like whatever stage you're at, it's better to put out more average content than fewer good content.
Yeah.
Because good in our minds is not necessarily the same as good in the audience's mind.
Okay.
So if I have a video that I think is awful, it's probably going to resonate with some people in the audience, so I might as well put it out. So quantity over quality is my mantra.
Good, and I guess the takeaway from that is so you don't know who's going to connect with your video, right? So you might put something out you think is very obvious, and then someone watches it and thinks, oh, I didn't know that. I'm glad that
Exactly.
that.
Exactly.
I know you're away from medicine for a little while now, but if you could go back and talk to yourself, what thing would you say to yourself about medicine that you didn't know back then?
Yeah, so I'd probably encourage myself to document more things as I went along. Like keep a journal, keep track of interesting, funny things that have happened. It doesn't have to be public, like it probably should be private, but it's just that kind of stuff. Like I really wish I had my thoughts, feelings from my first few months, first few weeks, first few days of the job. And yeah, anytime I look back at my journal where I did do journal entries, I always feel, wow, I'm really glad I wrote this all down. And then who knows, in 25 years' time, you could be the next Adam Kay, and you can just cherry pick things from your journal and turn it into a book.
Would that be as a personal reflection exercise, or more because you wish you had that to reflect on, to have the content?
Personal reflection is good at the time. I always like looking back at my private journal entries, and not because it's good content, but because it's interesting. But it does unlock the option of good content further down the line if you have a very long-term view of it.
Yeah, got it. That's it, perfect. We fit it in within your 8 minutes. Thanks so much for speaking, Ali. I've made weekly or bi-weekly videos since then, and like you promised, it has grown. So
nice.
Yeah,
that's very cool. I always have a bit of a chuckle at your username.
You know what? I've changed it now. I spoke to Rowan last week, and he was like, "If I were you, I'd change that username."
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I think it's a terrible username.
Thanks for speaking.
See you later.
Take care, man. Bye-bye.
Bye.
It was actually really fun trying to get in contact with all of these people, and it was incredibly easy too. As I said before, I think medics are more happy to speak to medics even if they don't know them, and I think that's part of the reason that so many of these people were happy to speak. I was also able to use mutual connections to speak to them. What I can say is that all of them were so incredibly nice. None of them are a camera persona that is a different person when you actually speak to them. I had loads of footage that I want to use for different videos, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss any of them when they come out. As always, drop me a comment to let me know what you thought. Take care everyone, and stay safe.